Good morning, my name is Steven and we're here in Long Beach to board a cruise, but not just any cruise. We're here to board the Queen Mary. You thought we were gonna board a Carnival ship, but not just yet. We're here to stay the night before a cruise, so let's go ahead and get aboard.
In case you don't know, the Queen Mary was an ocean liner that launched back in 1936. She has long since retired and has been permanently docked here in Long Beach since the late 60s. She operates as a hotel and a historical museum preserving her history. Boarding the QM for short will be like going back in time. So today we're here to see if she lives up to the modern standards of a hotel, and with 90 years of history, there are apparently a few ghost stories. So this night is either gonna be really fun or really stressful.
I am joined by my good friend Corey, who is going to be our expert of all things Queen Mary. He is a huge enthusiast, and I'll be honest, I'm not too much of one, so he's gonna help us explain a lot of what this beautiful ship has to offer.
Yep, my love started, I guess, before I was even born, because my parents got married on board the Queen Mary.
So this video is actually sponsored by Corey. So Corey, do you have anything you want to say to the people before we get aboard?
I hope you guys look into it, and hope you guys love the ship as much as I do, because every dollar you spend on the ship goes to keeping this beauty in good shape and all the repairs and maintenance that needs to be done on it.
One thing, when you typically board a cruise, it's a whole process, but we kind of just walked right up, gave her our name for a reservation for the hotel, and we're like within 30 seconds, we're ready to board.
Yeah, we're gonna hop in. The main desk for the hotel is right in there, so let's go check in.
There are also so many ways to get aboard this ship. I mean,
Yeah.
there, here.
Yeah.
There's one above us, I think. Yeah, so feels weird. Stepping on. We're aboard. Okay, now we gotta check into our hotel. We got our room, and there is a fee for an early check-in. It was $25 before 1, was it? Yeah, so that's worth it because it's like 11. I actually don't know what time it is, but we're gonna say it's 11. And we get to go to a room right away, which is really nice.
So just like you're going on a cruise. Welcome aboard. At first glance, seems pretty small, right? And
What? There's another room? No way, this is my room.
let's talk a little bit about this room. It's typically it would have been back in the day for family or somebody traveling with servants. This would have been first class. Not quite a suite. We did have suites. This is not quite one of them, but it's like right the step below. It'd be considered probably a mini suite or something on today's cruises. All the fixtures in here are at least original to the 1940 refit. Some of them will be older than that. But we got some portholes here, and they do open up to the outside.
What? That's crazy. I'm sorry, I didn't expect that. Not something you find on a modern cruise ship today.
This fan is original. I do not believe it works anymore. And then also these AC vents, which are from the refit, because it originally did not have AC on this ship, because, you know, it's sailed the North Atlantic. We don't need AC when you're sailing past icebergs. But these are original to the refit, and they still work.
Oh.
And you still control the temperature by turning.
What an archaic way to control the AC.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I believe these countertops are new, but the drawers underneath are original. And we'll look later, but there are stories that if you open some of these drawers, you'll find names carved in them, particularly from Australian World War II soldiers who were staying aboard this ship being transported to North Africa. So we'll look and see if we can find any names later. The wood is a little beat up, but that's to be expected from wood that's been on here since the 1930s. A little nightstand here. Some of the rooms I've been in have like a sink here. I don't know why, but that's how it is. These are all original. And then there's a little door back here. It's got original handles. And you got the bathroom. This bathroom looks like it was kind of redone at one point. The toilet looks relatively original. The flush is my favorite part. That's original. Is this the nicest hotel you're going to stay in? No. Is it the coolest? Maybe. Just because if you're into history, this is your place.
There's noises.
I think it's the wind.
And it's haunted. Probably haunted. Not sure if it is, but we're gonna go with that. We're gonna figure it out. Just in case. In case if you're worried, we'll find out by the end of the night if the Queen Mary is truly haunted, which I wasn't even thinking about until those noises came through. Maybe someone's just trying to get into the room. The ghost is trying to kill me. So welcome to the Promenade. Kind of what it would be on a current ship now, just a bunch of stores. Now, of course, shopping back then was different, according to Corey. He was letting me know that basically you'd walk up to windows, say, hey.
I like that. Can I get that sent up to my room? Thank you.
Totally different than today's ship. They don't send things to your room. I mean, they could, but one thing that's very foreign to today is that this is a first class only area. So if you're a first class passenger, which I think our cabin would be a first class, but we would be allowed here.
We would be allowed here. We would actually not be allowed through there or back there, though. I'm sure a lot of you think of the first class is going to be higher up and the third class is going to be below. That wasn't the way the Queen Mary worked. First class was in the middle, which was generally the smoothest place on the ship. Second class was in the back of the ship, where it may be still pretty smooth, but you have more engine noise back there. And then the roughest ride would have been the third class in the very front of the ship.
But now it is all open up for us to go explore however we'd like, thank God.
So I think let's walk towards the front of the ship here.
Welcome to good old-fashioned Promenade.
Yeah, this would probably be one of the most familiar sections of the ship to modern cruise fans, because a lot of ships still have a traditional promenade deck.
One thing I will say is if you love TV, and if your TV show has ever been on a cruise ship, the likely chance is that this is the promenade that you always see. This is the ship that they're always aboard, is the Queen Mary. They use it all the time for television. And I always look at it and laugh because, well, promenades don't exactly look like this anymore. But it's still very beautiful and exciting to walk down ourselves. Do you see your mom and dad now?
Well, I made the joke about a year ago now on the ship, pointing over to the Queen Mary and said, that's where I became possible. Well, specifically, this is where I became possible because it's right in here is where my parents got married.
Yeah, Queen Mary, I guess, is really popular for weddings. And we've made it outside to the very aft of the ship with a nice view of the Carnival ship that would be in port. Of course, that will be here tomorrow morning, not here quite yet. Yeah, she is still kind of falling apart. They are working on renovations, and when you go into the Port of Long Beach, they have port taxes. $1 of that goes to this ship and the retrofit. They have been working on this ship non-stop for the last few years. It was closed. They finally reopened it maybe about a year ago for just tours, and then they finally reopened it to hotels, and that's kind of where we are right now. They're doing tours, they're doing hotels. You can stay here, you can visit here, just spend some time, whatever. All of it goes to the retrofit of the ship to preserve a big part of history, which has been really interesting. I mean, it's hard to capture all of it that we are experiencing right now, but there is a lot, and Corey is just such a wealth of knowledge. There's just so much knowledge about this ship that he has that if we put all of it in the video, we'd be here doing a 2-3 hour documentary about it. So we're trying to fit in whatever we can for you, but trust me when I say this, you have to come here for yourself. At the very least, visit and take a look at this piece of history. I guess we're going to the isolation ward. Oof.
Watch your step on these things.
Okay, definitely gonna want to hold on to the handrails on this one.
Back in the day when you had a lot of people on the ship and, you know, the medical stuff wasn't as up to snuff as it is now. You had an outbreak of something, well, you would send that infectious person down here. This would have been if you caught influenza or any of those illnesses that were very prevalent in the 30s, 40s, 50s. You would have been sent down here. It was rarely ever used. It was actually used more often as a place to stick stowaways. This would have been where the isolation ward's nurse stayed and lived.
Oh, gosh.
This would have been their cabin.
What a cabin.
You have your bunk bed for your 2 nurses, a sink, and a bench. And that's it. That's all that was.
Shout out to the nurse.
If you were a stowaway, this would have been your view of the whole trip. maybe not broken, but you notice the bars on the window because it was a makeshift brig.
Well, something that not all modern ships have, but this one definitely has, is a list of the passengers who have died aboard the Queen Mary. That is one. Looks like it only made it about a year before someone had passed away.
And then over here, you have the crew members who have died on board.
On the first sailing? Oh gosh. Cursed. What does the traffic cone mean, Corey?
It means Piso Mojado? Mojado? I don't know. It means something in Spanish. Or maybe Italian, I don't know.
This part needs help. All right, happy to say we're out of that part of the ship. It's gonna get a little bit more brighter, and then we'll go to the engine room, and then I'm sure it'll get much darker back over there. So,
quite literally much darker.
Quite literally much darker. So, enjoy the sunlight while we can. They do have just endless list of a lot of different things. Stowaways, passengers who have died, crew members that have died, the records that they keep. From almost 100 years ago, they've kept all these records, and it's amazing that they can display it. Weird things to keep, but bravo, Queen Mary, good job of keeping those records. Now we have come up to the top deck, almost. I would say pool deck, but there's actually no pool on the top deck. Yeah, sun deck, that's a good one for it. There's no pool deck on the top deck like you would find on modern cruise ships, because
you wouldn't want to be out here in your
exactly, the transatlantic would be way too cold for that.
Speedo in the 20 degrees or less.
One thing you're gonna miss is the lifeboats right now.
So the lifeboats were actually a big part of what was degrading the ship. These, which was putting a lot of stress on the hull, and so they made the decision to remove all the lifeboats. They would have been here up until 2020, is when they removed them. And there's still one out in the parking lot, and there's, I believe, one down below, but the rest of them were scrapped because they were too heavy. The plan is to replace them with fiberglass replicas at some point.
Gotcha. So the question is always the age-old question, thanks to the Titanic. Is there enough lifeboats? Currently, no, there's not. If we were to go down right now, we would not have a lifeboat to get off. But we are safe. I don't think it could theoretically sink. This ship is actually floating right now. So it's not like it's just built into the ground. No, it's actually at sea, just a couple feet off the ground. So it would sink. It would hit the floor before we would be underwater here, but it could sink, and it does actually rise and lower depending on the tides. So that's kind of cool too. It's technically at sea, technically not, but it's definitely not on ground.
It's as much as sea as being moored in any port. I suppose we should head up to the sports deck.
Ooh, sports. My favorite. This is the sports we get. Shuffleboard. Still a cruise ship staple today, but I don't know how it works now, and it looks different than what it looks like now, and I still don't know how it works back then. So, you know, good thing they don't have it for us to play, because it would just be a lost fest for me.
Welcome to a place you don't get to see on your cruise ship, but we can go here. This is the bridge. All right, so let's talk about the bridge a little bit. First thing you'll notice is the two wheels right here. Both of them do the identical same thing. There was just a second one for redundancy in case one was not working. They could just move over and start steering with the other one. You'll notice 4 of these engine telegraphs, one for each engine, because the Queen Mary did have 4 engines. So you could individually control each engine or control them as a whole right there. And that did not actually control the engine, but it just told the engine room how fast we wanted to go. The third wheel right here, and that is in fact an early version of autopilot. You could set it to where you wanted to go, lock it in place, and it kept you going in that direction. That way it did not need to have somebody at the wheel 24/7 like older ships did. This was a relatively new design that was put on here during the refit, along with stabilizer controls. Queen Mary has had a bunch of nicknames. One of them was the Rolling Mary because due to a design change at the last minute, she was considered to be unstable and was suspect to rolling up to 45 degrees. And so during her refit in 1958, they put stabilizers in to help reduce the roll. It didn't make her as cruise ship smooth, but she was relatively a lot smoother than she was. One of the cool things that I like to point out is we always see in movies the crow's nest. Well, the Queen Mary also had a crow's nest right there. That's where we would have the lookout, checking out for any obstacles ahead of the ship. And, just like any other, the Titanic, all the way back to the wooden sailing ships. Let's go.
Historic steps. Yeah, you'll be a part of history if you accidentally slip down these things. Don't worry if you're looking for a quick coffee or maybe a snack. They do have Midship Cafe, which is basically just a Starbucks, but it's there for you if you want it. Corey's gonna get something. Fun little lunch bunch snack. Got a sandwich, a drink from Starbucks. Though I'm not gonna lie, it is a little expensive, so do be warned that Queen Mary prices are just like hotel prices. So we decided to book a tour. 2 tours, back to back. First one up is the Haunted Encounters tour, which I am so thrilled about.
1966. On a very foggy day in July, just as a precaution, the captain ordered all the hatches closed. Up in the wheelhouse, they watched all of the little indicator lights come on, except for one. The engineers made their way down into the aft engine room and discovered an 18-year-old fireman crushed in hatch 13. They got him out to the infirmary. He was pronounced dead shortly thereafter. In United reports, people will see a young man in coveralls who simply fades from view. A few reports of disembodied whistling, and women will complain they felt somebody pull their hair. There's a theory why the engineer will specifically target women. In the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, probably even in the 70s, women were not allowed in machine areas on a ship. You did not go into the engine room. You definitely didn't go into the boiler rooms. So the engineer could be pulling your hair to say, hey, you don't belong here. Nobody knows for sure how he got caught in the hatch because he was down there by himself. There are those who insist he was playing chicken. But there are others who think he was just coming back for a tool that he had dropped and he misjudged the timing of the door. Because we also get reports of people hearing him whisper, have you seen my wrench? So folks, you want to take some photos of the hatch? You'll want to pose with the hatch. Go ahead, and then come back inside to the stairs. Watch your step coming in. Watch your heads going forward.
Wow.
Watch your step around the ropes. Watch your heads going forward. Do not drop anything down the cargo shaft. We will not be getting back.
Alright, we finished up the haunted tour. It wasn't as haunted. The tour guide was fantastic. He was actually amazing. He told some really great stories. And the objective of the tour is not to convince you that the Queen Mary is haunted. It's just to share with you some stories that are a lot of fun.
And to let you choose for yourself what do you think.
Decide for yourself. Explore for yourself. Is the ship haunted? I don't know. We're doing another tour, the Steam and Steel. Take a look at the engine room now. And while we're waiting, we found a huge Lego model of the ship. Corey, when did you have time to build this?
Oh, while you were taking a nap a little bit ago.
Oh yes, I did take a quick power nap because, well, I was a little tired, but Corey's quick at building Legos. It's pretty impressive.
It's only 250,000 pieces.
Only 250,000 pieces. That's it. That's all it took. That's all that took.
So I ended up not recording too much of this tour because it was just us and the tour guide. And besides that, there's just so much to learn about how the ship runs that you really need a full masterclass on it. So I'll just leave you on this freaky shot of the propeller in the water. Spooky.
So, one thing we've realized is the dining options on board aren't the greatest. Unfortunately, you think of cruises, you think of food. Not quite the same thing with the Queen Mary. There are 3 options for you to eat at. One is obviously that Starbucks or that cafe. Good for, quick service food, grab and go. It's expensive. It was like $15 for a sandwich, but, it's okay. Then there's the Chowder House, which is a $3 sign place to go to. It's quite expensive. You're talking maybe $30 to $50 a person, maybe even more depending on what you order. It looks like a fancy restaurant, but really not for us. We're not really here to just blow all our money on food. And then they have the observation deck, which is a bar mainly, but then also it does have pub-style food such as wings and just quick bites, nothing too serious for a meal. So unfortunately, that's going to be a big disadvantage. Typically in the past, they usually have a water taxi that takes you over to downtown Long Beach where you could go to multiple more restaurants. It would be about $5 to get over there, but unfortunately that service is not available to us right now. It's supposed to open sometime next year, not sure when. So if you have a car, fantastic. If not,
One thing we forgot to mention is that there's a gym. It's a small gym. It's open 24 hours, but there's a few things to do if you really wanted to work out on board. One of the few amenities that you actually get on this hotel. And of course, you can take a look at what it used to look like back in the good old days. I don't think we use any of the machinery in this picture anymore. So actually, we did decide to get food. We went to the observation bar just to get some wings. They look okay.
They'll do.
We're not exactly here for the food reviews, but we're letting you know that we are trying to make do with what we got. We also did decide to eat in the room. I guess Corey gets the only chair. Okay, so the wings were actually pretty good, but we want to go out and explore, walk around the ship as it's empty. That's why I'm whispering, is because it's late and it's empty and it's quiet. We're gonna find some things out tonight. Maybe a little too much.
I'm trying to make a phone call.
Alrighty, so that was our haunting experience on board. Of course, we're just kind of playing around a little bit. We did walk around the entire ship. Very quiet in some places. Very, very quiet. Now, if you asked me directly, Steven, is this ship haunted? I'd have to look at you and say, no, I truly do not believe that this ship is haunted. But if you came aboard looking for a fright, I think you might just find it, though. I would truly believe that as well, but I don't think it is haunted. I think if you came for just a normal experience, just to enjoy the history, just to enjoy the stay, I think you're in good hands. The Queen Mary it seems like a lot of what they've been doing, the retrofitting, has been making the ship look much more beautiful than what it did before. So I'm so excited they've done that. But yeah, me personally, no, I didn't really feel it. I mean, the haunted stories were a little spooky and a little fun, but I really haven't been getting that feeling this entire time. So in that way, I could say, really, truly, I think you can enjoy this without having that whole haunted experience. It's totally normal. This pretty much wraps the end of the night, of course. We will be waking up tomorrow morning, and it is going to be cruise day. We're going to be boarding a ship, but we'll have a few more things to talk about for the Queen Mary, kind of our good overall thoughts, and maybe a few more venues that we had kind of left out. So we'll talk about those, and of course, we'll show you how far away the cruise port is. That's all in the morning. It's time to get to bed. We would close this in the room, but unfortunately, the walls are a little bit thin. Old ship, you know. So anyways, we'll catch you in the next morning. Good morning, it's the next day. We have gotten a good, well rest. We slept through, we didn't get visited by any ghosts last night. Things were pretty peaceful. I will say, earlier in the mornings, we did start hearing people kind of running down the halls and whatnot and kind of not being so nice. Not whispering as they talked through the halls. They weren't yelling per se, but they definitely were not whispering while they were talking. But other than that, very restful sleep, I think. Definitely enough for preparation today, because today is going to be boarding day. We're going to be heading over to our ship. But we're here in Long Beach. It's a beautiful morning. We finally heard the horn. We've heard it, you know, throughout our visit here, but we haven't actually been able to capture it. So now we finally captured it. It's like a good morning wake-up call at 10 a.m. Let's get the rest of the day started. There she is, the Carnival Radiant, so close to us.
Literally, I could probably throw a baseball over there. Maybe not, actually, not my physical strength, but maybe Corey can. This is the perfect hotel if you wanted to stay before your cruise. Because yesterday we didn't see it, today we get to see it. It's so close. There's Carnival Radiance, there's the terminal, here's the Queen Mary. Everything is right within each other. Obviously, there's some disadvantages in staying at the Queen Mary. One, it doesn't have any restaurants nearby, so that's kind of a big problem. But if you're looking for convenience of getting to the ship the next morning, you're there. You know what's going on, you know it's there, you know what's happening, you know when you're able to board because you can literally see it. It doesn't get any better than that. It truly doesn't. Alrighty, we're back in the room, just doing some last minute packing as we get ready to leave the ship, but I did want to give a quick recap / review of my overall thoughts of the Queen Mary and our stay. First of all, the room. We didn't talk too much about the modern amenities, but they do have them. There are plugs for you to go ahead and plug your electronics in, which obviously weren't on the original ship back then, but they are now. There is a modern TV, and as modern as one gets with an old hotel TV. Then they have some shampoos and conditioners for you in the shower. We didn't use a shower, but I imagine it would be just as normal. The toilet was really weird though, that whole push system and whatnot. It's kind of interesting. But overall, the room felt pretty modern in most ways, though it did have some of the old antique furnishings. The beds were probably not our favorites. They were extremely soft, so not exactly the most comfortable thing in the world, but good enough to get through the night. Unless that's your thing, unless you really like soft beds and this is the bed for you. A little too mama bear for me. I need something more baby bear that's just right for me personally, but hey, anyways. But yeah, overall, the room was really nice. We got a more expensive room, one of those that had the 2 rooms combined, where Corey had his own room and I had my own little like family quarters where we had 2 twins. So you could sleep up to 4 people in our room. It cost around $250 a night, which overall isn't that bad. Of course, there are cheaper rooms that start somewhere in the ballpark of $130, and they range up from there, of course, just depending on the type you go with. But we really wanted this one because of the space, and we just liked it because it's more closer to what you would have experienced on board the Queen Mary, where the other ones are just converted, you know, old smaller cabins into just like a regular hotel room, which it wasn't as worth it for us to stay there, so that's why we picked what we did. Anywho, the ship overall, fantastic. The tour was great. We didn't talk too much about them because obviously the tours, a lot of information, and it's hard to kind of share that across on a video, so we showed what we could, shared what we could, but honestly, you really have to come down to the Queen Mary yourself and get the tours for yourself. If you're into ghost hunting, if you're into historical, they got it for you. Both those tours are fantastic, and they have a few other ones that we didn't do or talk about it as well. But we actually only paid $60 for both tours for both of us, and I think that's because we stayed here. We weren't exactly too clear. We'll have to double check, but we did get some sort of discount / maybe we got one of them free. We're really not too sure. They weren't too clear with it, but we got it for $60 for both tours. Would I stay here again? I think I definitely would. This was a fun stay. Living in a historical place for one night, there's really nothing like it. You're never going to be able to do this anywhere else. It's just so unique. I would personally come here again. I think I would definitely want to stay here again for another cruise. You're right there and you just walk over and you're good to go. I just wish that there was more restaurants or more things to do around the ship. And hopefully when those water taxis come back in 2024 and you get a fare for maybe $5 to get across the bay, it'll totally be worth it because then so many more things will be open. Your nightlife will be so much better. I guess it's time to get packed, time to get out of here because we're moving on to the next ship. Alrighty, last minute checks, just kind of enjoying the last view of our room as we set sail for the next adventure. Corey, you ready?
I'm ready.
Don't forget anything because I feel like the ghost might take it. Goodbye, Queen Mary. Thanks for having us. We're making our walk to the terminal.
I thought you said we were going to Royal.
Ah, shit. Alrighty, so we're on our way to World Cruise Terminal, which is the other terminal, not the Long Beach terminal, the one over in San Pedro. I have a timer set just so we kind of know how long it's gonna take. An important lesson for you, if you are ever going to Los Angeles for a cruise, do note that there are 2 terminals, one in Long Beach, one in San Pedro. They're an estimated 15 minutes across from each other, 2 sides of the port, but they are different. So make sure you know which one you're going to. Don't make the mistake that we did. Obviously, we actually, it's fake. We did know that we're going to the other one, but we still wanted to stay at Queen Mary anyways, just to show you that if you're staying at the other place, it's still possible. Well, we have made it here in Pedro. We've made it to our cruise terminal. It took about 15 minutes, give or take. It was a really easy drive, not too big of a deal. Now that we made it, that's it for the Queen Mary. Hopefully you enjoyed our stay here, and maybe you can consider a vacation for yourself, whether it be a pre-cruise vacation or a one-of-a-kind vacation aboard the Queen Mary. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. As always, this isn't a goodbye, but just a see you real soon.